So by the title, Outriders pushed away over 98% of their own players. And in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how they did it. We go back to April 1st, 2021, the day of release, and it started off well. I mean, once you put aside the 4 days of server issues to the point where people pretty much couldn't play the game whatsoever. But 4 days later, people were able to play until they started noticing that their inventory went missing. And then it took them, I believe it was 9 or 10 weeks to fix that. They give out a slap in the face, also known as the appreciation pack. And then there are problems with damage mitigation, so they get that fixed, and players' inventories carry on wiping in a much smaller amount at that time. And then they finally pulled themselves together. They started putting out some actual working patches for the game, and it started to get a little bit better. Then we got a free content update, new expeditions and everything like that. I believe it was called New Horizon or something along those lines, and it seemed okay. Then, players started falling off again because they were running out of content, and an expansion, a full-on expansion, was announced. That expansion being known as Outriders World Slayer. So that drops, you get about 3 or 4 hours of content, and based on Steam, the most amount of players they've had at one time, so concurrent players, is 125,000. And it picked up to around 10% of that. They had about 12,500 people playing when the expansion dropped. And that expansion dropped on the 30th of June, 2022. So it took them around 14 months to put that expansion together. It's actually closer to 15 months, but we'll just say 14 months. So they put it together. You get maybe 3 or 4 hours worth of a campaign, you get a new endgame mode, and you get nothing in terms of expeditions. You get pretty much nothing else. There's a couple of new features, a new apocalypse tier system, a new ascension level system. There's a few different new features. And then it gets to the point where people start dropping off really, really quickly. And we're at the stage now, less than 2 months after the release, and there are less than 2,000 people playing in a 24-hour window. In fact, it's only picking up like that because it's the weekend. They are typically seeing about 12 to 1,400 players throughout the week. That is over 98% of their players gone since the launch of the game. And it's never going to pick up again. In order for them to get above 10,000 concurrent players, they have to release another expansion. You can't make those overnight. That's not going to happen. So Outriders is pretty much dead. They might as well go and focus on their other projects and just leave Outriders alone. Do some quality of life patches, sort it out for the remaining players, and then disappear from the game. Because what have they done since they released World Slayer? They put in a stupid grind, and then they kicked players in the teeth by saying, we're going to help you out, we'll reduce it 10%. It needed to be a minimum of 20, maybe even 25%. The grind is stupid. And then, looking through Reddit, I start noticing even more problems. People are complaining that finding good loot is tough enough, but please fix this. This being that some players are getting to a reward chest if they're in the Trial of Taria Gratar, the new endgame mode, and before they are able to collect their loot, they're being kicked from the game. And it's happening to a few people here and there. Then you also get a post of someone saying, I wonder from which part of the game should I get my motivation from? Like, in order to carry on playing the game. Do I get it from the endless grind to Apocalypse Tier 40? Do I get it from the build crafting with the weak loot drops for the repetitive trials and expeditions? And they basically just carry on saying that we'll continue to put some different builds together and play the game, but the upgrades are really expensive. They never balanced any of that sort of stuff, and the drops are terrible. So any attempt you put in to upgrade, build a new idea, or use an armor piece that's 3 apocalypse tier levels lower is just exhausting. They said playing a whole Saturday and not being able to change a thing is just boring and exhausting. They want to enjoy the game, but the game isn't respecting their time. And there are multiple comments in this thread on Reddit that say the same thing. Someone said they feel like they finished most of their builds at Apocalypse Tier 25. They wish they had more bag space because they're a bit of a gun hoarder. I mean, the game still doesn't have loadouts, and we're around 15 months in. And fundamentally, the game and player base is just bad for grinding. What are you going to do? Play trials over and over and over again? Want to play expeditions? Okay, but expect even less apocalyptic gear. You want to level up your Apocalypse tier, that'll be about 3 to 4 trial runs or about 8 expeditions to actually do that, and it becomes more and more the further you level up, the more you progress. And then also if you want to farm for boots or chest pieces, because they added targeted loot in, they're in encounters, which are like little portions or components of the trial endgame mode, and they are encounters that everyone skips. So even if the host wants to do them, the other players in the group will just run ahead and start the vote, and they'll skip going for pieces of gear that the host wants to go for. So obviously people have the argument, don't randomly matchmake, play with friends or play solo, but then it's not like, if you don't have friends playing the game, you're going to have to randomly matchmake if you don't want to play by yourself. And it's tough doing that because the servers are terrible. It's not even actually a proper server sort of game. It's set up really, really weird on basically a network, and then the host will share the server with each other, or something like that. It goes into a much bigger explanation. But it's got to the point now where, because they have pushed so many of their own players away, they have got incredibly desperate. And when I say desperate, I mean, looking on Steam, the game is currently half price. It is 50% off to buy the base game. But then, another thing which further shows their desperation, Outriders World Slayer, an expansion that is less than 2 months old? Yeah, 25% off. You can get that at 75% of its original cost, less than 2 months after it's released. So right now, Outriders, instead of being, £33, it's currently £16.50. It's already lost, like, just over a year after the game's come out, it's already lost part of its, like, base sale price. Because I believe it used to be a £50 or £60 game, but now, when it's not on sale, it's only £33. That normally doesn't happen for a few years with a game. And then with the World Slayer upgrade, instead of it being £33, you can pick it up for £24.75. It's 25% off, and it hasn't even been out for 2 months. They are so desperate to bring in more sales. They've chucked it up for free for the weekend. They've put big discounts on it. And if that doesn't show desperation, I don't know what does. But I can tell you right now, don't even bother picking it up. Don't go giving this company or these companies money. The grind will, like, you might enjoy the campaign, then you get to the end game, you might enjoy the expeditions to start with, then as soon as you hit Apocalypse Tier 15 and the grind actually starts, because that's where everyone started when they purchased Outriders World Slayer, once you get to that stage, you'll notice shortly after how long you actually have to put in to make enough progress to start getting to the point where you can put some solid builds together. And when I say that, I mean like hitting Apocalypse Tier 40, and then it's just to focus on your builds. You can't do that for a very, very long time. So if they want to make any sort of a comeback, it has to be done through an expansion, which they're not going to do because it's been less than 2 months since they launched their first one for the game. There are some things on the game that I appreciate. The fact that there's no microtransactions at all, and the fact that they did bring some quality of life improvements to the game, but there are still more that they should have worked on. They've had plenty of time to do so. And there's other things like the balancing of the game that is absolutely shocking at the moment and probably won't change ever. And check out this video if you want to see other Outriders content on the channel. That's going to do it for this one. I'll see you in the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.